Imagine being a young boy wanting to make something of yourself, wanting to be a great hero, but not only a great hero, but one that everyone will look up to and be inspired by. But what if instead it goes all horribly wrong? That's where I introduce you to Johnny Bolt.
So, what can your power do, you prick?
First things first, if you've never watched Super Crooks, did I mention the opening is fire? Obviously I can't play it because of copyright, but damn, it is fire! Oh yeah, this gotta be one of the best openings in anime. I'm not just talking about the music, I'm also talking about the dancing. Like, it just makes you wanna like bust a move, am I right? Anyways, Johnny at first was a regular old kid, no powers, nothing really extraordinary about him. He lived with a single mom, no father in sight, but this one night was different from the rest. It was freaky. Okay, not that type of freaky. It was Johnny awakening electrical powers freaky. They were so strong, he turned the power off in the whole entire neighborhood and ruined his mom and her lover's moment.
Sorry. I came already.
Wait, are you serious?
Huh?
Johnny, after awakening his powers, then has the idea to become a hero, Electro Boy, even though no one at the school really took him seriously, only his one friend. Even his crush laughed at him.
Virgins? Janice, you too?
He then gets a hero costume and goes around trying to find crime, and when he never finds anything, he decides to go to a pool filled with kids to announce his newfound calling of being a hero. But when the bullies recognize him and don't take him seriously, he ends up losing balance, floating in the sky with his electricity, and he falls into the pool. And you can kind of guess what happens when you mix electricity and water. Well, you fry an entire pool of kids. And that's what Johnny did. He ends the life of literally all the kids in the pool, and then it's brushed off as a freak accident. But Johnny's hero debut failure made him realize something. Not everyone with powers was destined to be a hero anyway, and maybe a life of crime was destined for him. Years later, Johnny's being released from Supermax prison, a prison that houses all the superpowered individuals. We all know Johnny being released doesn't mean he's gonna change his ways, but now this time, he has someone to go home to, his girlfriend Casey, who's quite the baddie. She encourages Johnny to lay low for a while after being released from prison, but Johnny's friends come over and convince him to take on this jewelry job. His friends being Transmit, a guy whose vocabulary only consists of this.
Yeah. What's up?
He's basically a Tron ripoff, and he has the power to teleport. There's also Frostbite, a guy who can fire ice, and Kismet, a guy whose power is to give bad luck. He probably gave me bad luck last night after I ate that pizza. Johnny tells Casey after a little freaky time that he's not gonna take the job, but with his secondary power that you don't know about, gaslighting skills, he ends up taking the job anyway and starts robbing jewelry stores the very next day with his pals.
I'm the bad guy.
At first, it's going good, just regular old cops who couldn't keep up with Johnny and his crew, because apparently, even though heroes way outnumber villains in this world, the city Johnny lived in didn't have very many heroes. But that wasn't for long when they flew a hero over called Mountain Man. And calling this guy a hero is a stretch. This guy looks like a straight up monster, a giant, tall, towering hulk of a man that causes so much destruction and chaos. Like, he's just straight up destroying the city trying to stop Johnny and his boys, and even though they go on to get rid of Mountain Man, another hero comes along to stop them too, this time Rubber Ball. A man who does basically what his name is, turn into a giant rubber ball that spins and bounces around the city, causing even more destruction. Yeah, I'm starting to think these heroes are doing more damages to the city than the money they are losing on stolen jewelry. This rubber ball man straight up looks like he's putting people into the grave or the hospital for the rest of their life. But just like Mountain Man, Johnny and his friends end up putting an end to him and get away. You would think after escaping tons of cops and 2 heroes who had to be brought to your city that you would finally be in the clear, right? Right? Sadly for Johnny, it was only gonna get much worse. Another hero appears to stop Johnny and his boys. And this wasn't no goofy superhero like Rubber Ball Man or Mountain Man. This was one of the great heroes from the Union of Justice, the Ptorian. A guy whose powers are basically
Run the bullshit! Go!
The Ptorian actually has hundreds of powers, like look at the whole list. Basically every day, he has a random power moveset that he can't even control, that people bet on. Yes, People are putting parlays and gambling bets on what powers the Ptorian will use every day. And oh boy, what powers does the Ptorian have today to face Johnny and his crew? The Ptorian ends up getting the power to multiply into 4 of him. Holy plot armor. So that means all 4 of him now will have even more random powers. Johnny and his boys all try to run 4 separate ways, but the Ptorian catches up to every single one of them. He fights Frostbite, who tries to overpower him with the power of ice, but guess what power he gets to counter Frostbite? Fire breath. Plot armor. He's then easily able to beat Frostbite and gives him the biggest beating of his life. Like, this is such a beatdown. Talk about overkill. Holy crap. He then runs into Mr. Bad Luck, who tries to give the Ptorian bad luck, but once again, here comes the Ptorian's random powers. He gets the power to reflect attacks and reflects the bad luck back to Kismet. Yeah, I'm starting to think these powers aren't random at all, because he has the convenience of getting the thing he needs. The bad luck hitting Kismet turns into a shark raining down from the sky and landing on Kismet, finishing him off. Then back with Johnny and Transmit, the Ptorian easily dispatches Transmit and then toys with Johnny. But Johnny basically says the Ptorian is a scaredy cat for using 4 of him to fight 1 of Johnny, so the Ptorian stops using his multiply power and fights him one-on-one. And as cool as electrical powers are, Johnny is pretty much helpless against a guy who has every single power in the world at this point. So Johnny gets beat around, and it's looking like after being only free for 1 day, he's gonna go right back to jail the next day again. It's like not even a day break of jail. But then something snaps in the Ptorian. He ends up feeling bad that Johnny would go right back to jail, and he just decides to let him go and disappears. Kind of weird that this hero who's basically almost beating all 4 of these guys to death just randomly lets him go. In actuality, Johnny's girlfriend has one of the most broken powers, and that's the ability to create illusions in people's minds without them realizing it's an illusion. And that's what Casey did. She hit the Ptorian with an illusion that convinced him to let Johnny go scot-free. But that's not without Casey getting extremely mad at Johnny for taking the jewelry job. She then makes Johnny promise to only take profitable sure jobs. So this doesn't mean Johnny is exactly retired yet. He's only getting started and getting ready for the heat that comes next. So if you want to see the second part to this, because it's far from over, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Johnny Bolt.